Hi guys, so I read Zlata's Diary by Zlata Filipovich, and she is kind of the modern day Anne Frank. Her diary that she kept from 1991 to 1993 highlighted the Bosnian War. She was a young girl, just turning, I think, 11 years old, right before the war started. And she lived in Sarajevo, and she was just a normal girl. I mean, she loved school. She loved her friends. She talks about like birthday parties that she went to with her friends and how they got to eat pizza and stay up late and, you know, just like any other young kid. And then the war started, and, you know, she kind of highlights that, how it was far away from them at the time when it first started, and they were starting to hear things, and her dad had to go serve, fight in the war a little bit when it was far away. He'd be gone for like a week at a time, and then he'd come back on the weekend, but yet she wasn't too worried about it because it was far away. And then it kept creeping closer and closer to them and where she lived. And eventually it came to Sarajevo where she lived, and they had to close down everything. I mean, school was closed. You couldn't go to the store. You couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere because it wasn't safe. And all of her friends, many of her friends, ended up fleeing to other places. So some people fled to Germany. Some people fled to Paris. I mean, just anywhere they could go to be safe. And her family was just waiting it out, thinking it would get better. Let's just wait it out. Let's just wait it out. And it came down to they didn't have any running water. All the power was off. They couldn't flush a toilet. They couldn't take a shower. It was awful. I mean, there was one part of her diary where she talks about how her and her family had to take a shower in rainwater. But she was just relieved to be clean. I mean, I just couldn't imagine living in a situation like that. And at one point they were, they couldn't stay in the back of their house, like in their bedrooms, because they were worried about getting shot. So they all had to sleep in the living room together. And like her mom, her parents had to sleep in the living room, and they ended up not being safe there either. So they had to go down to the cellar. And there was a time when she couldn't leave her house for like months at a time. And her grandparents lived nearby, and she couldn't even go visit her grandparents across the street because it was just not safe enough to walk across the street. Many people fled, and when it came down to them making that decision, like maybe we should leave, her parents couldn't get out. There was no way to get out. And that was really scary for her. Finally, in 1993, they ended up getting out, and they fled to Paris and to safety. And so her diary highlighted so much of the war that they ended up publishing it. And, you know, they're calling her the modern day Anne Frank. She even named her diary Mimi because Anne Frank named her diary. So she thought, I want to name my diary too. So I thought that was kind of a fun fact. But this was a really good book. It definitely gave me all the feels, and I can't imagine what it would be like living in a war zone like that. It definitely put a new perspective on life. So if you ever get a chance, check this book out. It was amazing.